Hello again. So this is another try from myself to get to 2,200 ranking points. We have strong opponents. It's warelephant 2,300, strange tank 2,200, and chess sorcerer 2,100 something. And it was an anonymous game. So in the beginning, we did not know who is who. You can see it, of course, in the review now. And I'm very happy about this game. It's the first time I play with warelephant, and basically his videos on his YouTube channel, Nathan Stolzfus, was the channel that intrigued me to play four-player chess myself. And I will put his YouTube channel in the link below. It's a very good channel. He's a much better player than I am. And his insight is very, very valuable. Also, he started his channel already kind of 3 years ago in the beginning of the four-player chess on chess.com. So he's quite from the early stages, and you should have a look. So let's see how this game went. So pretty standard opening, and red is blocking it off to blue. Blue is activating his queen. Okay, yellow opens the bishop's diagonal, and I'm activating my queen. And here possibly red and yellow already have to watch out. So for example, if blue would take and green would take, this would already be mate, I guess. So red is blocking the blue queen, and blue is opening also a field for his bishop to possibly attack the yellow queen. So in higher ranking FFA games, much is about fast development. Okay, the yellow queen comes out, and of course we have to watch out for any attacks. I do not see an immediate threat here, but of course the red queen can always come here. So if yellow would somehow attack that point, that would be dangerous for me. So I block the red queen preemptively, and the red queen comes out too. So now we have to watch out. Either, as I said, well, I don't know, maybe an attack here. Well, not too risky in the moment. So both kings are still kind of safe. Okay, blue is attacking the yellow queen. Does this give me any chances for attack? I could, of course, now play that pawn and attack that bishop, and the queen would possibly have to go back, and that would slow down yellow's development. Oh, sorry, I was mistaken. Of course, yellow moves first. So the queen is already gone. And now I have to watch out. The queen attacks that pawn. So if red would just protect that field, yellow could take the pawn next move. Well, of course, this is not a move for... Well, still it would be possible, yeah. Since yellow would move first, I would have to move my king, and the threat of my knight taking the queen is not really relevant. Also, of course, the queen could just come from there. So I move my pawn and block that diagonal. And red is pushing a pawn, threatening to attack my knight. Okay, blue develops. Yellow is blocking. And I'm kind of trying to stop that pawn's move. But since my rook is not defended yet, I would not be able to make that move in the moment. Okay, red develops. Blue further develops and opens the queen again. Yellow develops, and I develop and open possible attacks on the queen. So after those first 6 moves, seems like everyone is developing. No king is under direct threat, so it's for me a good start in a 4-player FFA game, a high-ranking game without like immediate mate strategies here. Okay, queens are starting to dance. Now possibly that pawn may be under attack here. Okay. And also double attack on that pawn. I rather play that pawn to protect. And red continues his development and now has a triple attack on that pawn. And blue blocks it off. So many development moves, many defensive moves, and everything's still stable. Okay. Possible trades here. And I'm developing my knight, also seeing, of course, possibilities at some point to attack the yellow queen if needed. Fianchetto, second knight moves out. Okay. Bishop moves and is now on the diagonal with my queen and king. But I see a possibility here to attack that bishop. And now blue could possibly, well, sacrifice a knight there. But I don't think that's a good tactic so far. And red is now attacking my knight. I cannot take because of the threat from my rook. So I have to move my knight. But blue really attacks yellow here. Okay, now I have to make a decision. What is yellow doing? Yellow takes the knight. Of course, now the trade is possible here. Oh, and if I attack, or if I take that bishop, I would even protect, so it wouldn't be a trade, but a win for blue. I would, of course, lose a knight here, but I can retake with the bishop in a good position to attack there. So I decided to go for the joint attack together with blue on yellow. Red takes, blue takes, yellow checks. and I retake the red pawn. So now, of course, this is a dangerous situation for blue. The king is checked, the queen can take here. Queen doesn't take. Red decides to take with the bishop. Okay. Blue has to move. And yellow takes my knight. And now the bishop is hanging. So we're kind of in even points. And blue is under pressure already. But I can take that pawn and threaten to take the rook. Bishop takes knight. And blue will possibly now retreat his bishop. Yellow will move the rook and attack my bishop, and I will retreat. Okay, so now it's like everything on even points. Blue king has stabilized his position. So no big advantages for any player yet. Okay, red is castling, preparing possible pawn moves in the center. Blue is attacking yellow, but the knight is protected by the red bishop. Yellow and blue obviously, and red are obviously playing together here. The rook attacks queen and king and is protected by the red bishop. So what can blue do? Blue could play the knight, the bishop in between. Blue could, of course, also take the rook, but sacrifice the queen. So I'm thinking, how can I support? I didn't really find something, so I just moved my pawn up in order to be able to get my queen out if needed. Okay. Red is joining the attack on blue, and blue decides that taking the rook is better. So if blue wouldn't take the rook, if blue would maybe move here, wouldn't really help. Yellow king would take. I would possibly make a move here. Red would check, and the king would fall anyway. Okay, blue decides to take, and that's of course is kind of good for me. If yellow gets weakened and blue gets weakened, and yellow's deciding to protect the knight, and in this moment I can just take a free knight there, since I'm sure that red wants to take the queen, and then I can still also take the bishop. Bishop takes. Blue develops his rook. Yellow is moving. Well, maybe he wants to protect that pawn, but well, it's protected anyway. Possibly here it would have been better if yellow would have protected the red bishop. No immediate threat on me, so I take the bishop. And red is moving a pawn here. I was thinking if red would have maybe moved the queen here, attacking that pawn, and yellow would have, well, I could retake. No, not a good idea. Okay, so red is moving that pawn, protecting the other pawn here. Blue is developing his pawn. Okay, first yellow was attacking me here. Now he's attacking me there. Maybe asking red to do some joint attack on me, but also maybe having an idea to attack the blue king there with possibly the support of the knight. I want to stop the queen from coming there and doubling up on this attack. Okay, and now the queen attacks my bishop. If I move the bishop, then the blue king is hanging. Blue protects that line. Also attacks that pawn over there. And now the yellow queen is coming into my kingdom, threatening to take here. I believe I have to move my rook. I move over there. Okay, and red takes my bishop. Could I have played differently? Well, I could have moved my bishop, but then I would lose my rook and be in check. So not a good idea, I believe. So I had to sacrifice the bishop at this point. Okay, I lose my bishop. And now the red queen gets attacked and the knight also. And yellow sacrifices his queen. Well, no, it's not a sacrifice. The bishop is pinned, so the bishop cannot take. Okay, so smart move by yellow and big threat for blue now. Threatened to be mated in short. So what can I do here? I can, well, take that pawn, threaten to take that pawn in the next move. That's the only thing I can see here. So I do that. And red is taking the bishop, king has to move. Yellow is attacking my queen and protecting that pawn, but leaves that knight undefended. Of course, when I take that knight, I'm also checking blue, and this will maybe mate in the next move. So should I do something else here? I could take that rook what would, well, red would still mate. I cannot really attack red severely in the moment. I could move my queen there, but still that would be mate, and the queen would be protected by yellow. So I do not really see a good move here. Just take the knight, put a check on blue, but it doesn't help him, of course. Oh, and here's even now a different mate. Okay, now it's yellow's turn. Since we are now only 3 players, since red is now severely up in points, and red also is, well, together with me, material-wise strongest player on the board, I believe yellow should take the red queen here. Gain some points and gain some chances to win this game. As I always say, is when there's only 3 players left, whether you become third or second doesn't really make a difference. So the only way to play is to play for win. And well, blue only has already 11 points, but yellow will easily get to 11 points if he takes anyway. So, but yellow decides not to take, and that's what I see very often in 4-player FFA, that the partnership of the opposite players lasts even if the fourth player is dead. And in this case, I believe it's not the smartest move for yellow. Of course, yellow and red can win easily together against green, but since red is the point and material leader, then he would definitely be the winner of the game. So I believe yellow should have taken the red queen. But maybe you want to make a comment how you would see this. Also, now red could take here, and but that would possibly not be smart, since yellow is obviously supporting red. Red should now join the team or continue the team with yellow and play against green, and in the end red will win. Okay, so I play it slow at this point, just make a pawn move. Red is moving the king. As I said, he could have taken here, but would not be smart at this point. Yellow is trying to keep his king safe. And I'm preparing possibly this pawn to start moving. Okay, red is pushing pawns and stopping my pawns from development and promotion. Also, this pawn is now protected against yellow. Okay, yellow gathers his items around his king, and I stop that pawn from moving. Okay, next pawn moves. As I said, yellow's gathering around his king. That's good strategy in his situation, I believe. Hoping that red and green would start to fight each other. So my focus in this situation is completely on red. I see him as being the strongest opponent, of course. And my only chance in winning here is if yellow somehow supports me in attacking red. So I try to not at all attack yellow, but only focus on attacking red or slowing down red's promotions or whatever. Okay. Hopes to develop this pawn still, or at least protects that pawn. Okay. So here I'm threatening to take that pawn at some point. So if yellow would decide to make a joint attack with me, that would be an option at some point. Okay. I develop my bishop, not to attack yellow here, but to be able to possibly place the bishop there, change the diagonal, or place it here, change to that diagonal. And also in order to protect my king from threats from there. Okay, now yellow starts pushing a pawn. That's good, because if yellow starts to build a threat here against red, that would help me too. I slowly push my pawns. I do not want to have a fast pawn pushing now, because if I started that, both yellow and red would fall over me. Okay, yellow is pushing. I like that. I make small pushes, but no big threats. I'm just moving around with my queen with no big focus. I didn't want to get attacked from there, so just moved it backwards. Now I see a rook here, so possible at some point attacks, but the rook is protected. Okay. Slow movements. Now red possibly preparing this pawn for promotion. But yellow is faster. And I can go slowly behind him. Okay, yellow doubles up that diagonal, which is good for him. I just move my bishop. Maybe at some point I have a check there. And I move again with my queen. Basically, I'm waiting here for something to happen. Okay. Pawn is just moving forward, but leaving the rook undefended. The queen is blocked now, so at this point I can attack the rook if yellow would somehow benefit from that. So this may already be a point. Yellow is shortly before promotion, but this field is still occupied, of course, by red. I just make a slow move, and yellow blocks, red blocks the pawn. Okay, further protection for the yellow king. And here I decided to just attack the rook, just to show yellow I'm on his side, and to make sure that some attack on red is happening. Moves away. And I like to see that move. Yellow is stopping the red pawn. Also, yellow is attacking the knight. Well, the knight is protected by the bishop, of course. But somehow it looks like yellow and green are joining forces here. So I continue to move into red's area. So I'm attacking that pawn. I see possibilities maybe later to check from here or from there. Also, I see possibilities to again attack the red rook. And red is moving forward. I believe red wants to give me the chance to take the yellow pawn, but I will not do that at this point. As I said, my only chance is to join forces with yellow against red in a moment. At least if I want to play for first and not only for second. Okay. Not sure about this. Well, I'm sure yellow wants to get the rook over here, or maybe even over there. And he sacrifices a little king safety there. Possible attacks with the queen. Well, only 2 steps. Or also possibly from, well, not really. I'm taking that. Okay. So I'm at this point, I decided not to take here. I didn't want to open up my king side. I didn't want that pawn to take and then the rook being in the open. So I decided just to move that pawn, to stop that pawn from moving forward and still have all options for later. Okay. Red still goes for promotion. This field is protected 3 times. Yellow cannot really stop it, but he gives a double threat on this point. And maybe even if he takes first, if he would take here, and I would then check from here, it would be a double check. King cannot take, king would have to move either there, and the queen would take, and it would be not checkmate, but nearly. Or the king could move here. So both not good for red. So, but of course, yellow would need to initiate. I cannot start with my queen. So I just make a waiting move here, protecting my pawn structure. And red is blocking that attack. But of course now leaving possibilities for the yellow pawn to promote well. Red also attacked that queen here. Still covers this field, also protects that. Looks like a good move. But what is yellow doing here? Yellow is sacrificing the rook, and that was a great move by yellow, I believe, in terms of winning against red. Because now the queen basically has to take, but then that pawn can promote. Red could take, queen could take. And of course, I'm also making a move, and I decided to attack the rook. And red takes. Yellow promotes. I take the rook. And red decides not to take the queen. So if red would take the queen, let's play it for a sec. So red takes queen, queen takes bishop. I would possibly check here. Possibly pawn move. So everything is still possible in this position, I believe. Okay. But as I said, red did not choose to take the queen. Rather, he moved to protect the pawn here. Oh yeah, let's play it once again. So if red would take, yellow would take, I would not check, but I would possibly take here. Well, red could protect. Oh yeah, but still here, check would be possible, mate would be possible. Okay. So maybe it's better for red not to take here, but to protect that pawn. But yellow can check from the other side. I decided to take that pawn and with the next move take that bishop, possibly with check. Rook moves in between, and yellow sacrifices the queen. So yellow is really teaming up with me here. Why am I only taking that? Oh, because yellow was protecting that bishop. Haven't seen that before. I could, well, I also didn't see in the beginning. Yellow did not sacrifice the queen because my bishop is protecting it. So I just move over here. So basically I'm playing it slow. I could trust yellow more, but maybe he would fall in my back. I could also take here, but then if yellow, for example, decided to take that bishop with a check, I'm losing. And then I would also lose the queen there. I did not see actually that yellow and the bishop could be trading here. So red is moving and yellow switches roles again and attacks me. I was very astonished, but of course it's understandable. So it's a free bishop, it comes with check. I may possibly now, well, I can move first, so I will not lose my queen. Red is still the point leader, but red is not the material leader anymore. So in this case, it may be even smart by yellow to switch sides, and now if he can kill green together with the help of red, he could still win. Okay, so I have to block with my queen. If I left my queen there, I would lose my queen, possibly. So I have to block with my queen. Oh, and I didn't see that either. So the other yellow queen is hanging. So with this in mind, it was not a smart move by yellow. So this was then a mistake. So rather yellow should have taken that pawn and protect that queen. Yes, maybe I would have taken it, but he loses the queen anyway. Okay, so he checks me. Red is not supporting that, but taking the yellow queen. Yellow again now checks red, so it's a to and fro who is checking whom. And by taking that queen, red left his king unprotected. Oh, am I missing mate here? Would that be mate? Yeah, I haven't seen it. I could have made it red at this point, and then I would have big chances to win over yellow. I could have won the game here. Didn't see it. Ah, too bad. So I moved my rook, sort of possibly moving that pawn, and the red king can hide out. Yellow attacks the red bishop and the red pawn. I check, and red loses the bishop. Okay. Red protects the pawn. Yellow closes the position with me. I move my king to protect my pawns and connect my rooks. Oh, and here red can promote. So I missed the mate on red, and now he's back in the game. Wow. Yellow's sacrificing his queen. I could, of course, protect that queen. Maybe I should have done that. King would then move. I'm not sure how we proceeded from there. I didn't see it. I just decided to take a pawn and take another pawn if the king takes the queen. King takes, yellow moves, and I take. So I have to kind of say sorry to yellow in this situation. There were several opportunities where we could have won together against red. I missed out some opportunities here. But still, I was playing slow. I was protecting myself. I'm still good in material, even though now red has two queens. But his king is completely unsecure. Of course, I have to watch out for the attack here. I first give a check, and the queen comes back, and I threaten to take that pawn. Red tries to secure his king, and I can take the pawn. So, but now yellow is possibly attacking me. And in this situation again, well, I believe now, since yellow has no chances to, at least it doesn't look like he's winning. At this point, it may be quite okay for him to just go for second place. Especially since I showed with my mistakes that I'm not like the best partner in this game. So now I'm in trouble possibly if red and yellow attack me together. And it happens. And now there's a check thread and a fork thread. I didn't see it. And he does it, of course. I get checked again. My rook is lost. Have to move my king. Again a check. Okay. Maybe he doesn't want to get checked. Okay, and now I think red made a mistake. He puts himself on a spot for yellow to take. Also, if yellow moves, I can take. He does not protect the knight, so I can take it, and yellow has to move the knight. And he checks again, but leaves the red queen unprotected. Okay, I take, and red resigns here. Why is red resigning? He's the point leader. Possibly he thinks that he will be securely a second place. Maybe he was frustrated that yellow was leaving his queen alone. So I believe together with yellow, there are still like checking options here again. There would still be possibilities, for example, to attack my rook, and then when a king gets checked, take that rook and then come from behind. So I believe there were still chances for it to win this. Okay, but he resigned, and then of course yellow has no chance against green here in this position, and since I'm only 31 points behind, I will gain 40 points minimum, so it should be a win for me. Just a matter of time how we play this till the end. And here yellow resigns and I take a win. And yes, I reached my goal. I reach above 2,200 points. It was a very interesting game for me. I love to play with warelephant. As I said, have a look on his channel in the link below. And thank you for watching and have a nice day.